have the honor or whatever of being the facilitator of this session, the cloud therapy session. On the past tab, we have three very well-versed people in cloud technology. Mark Lennon, Vladimir Baranek, and Sudesh Kumar. Sorry. I mean, yeah, you make a mistake and you cover up real quick. That's what I said, right?
Most people notice, but they don't.
Oh, okay.
Big old Roger. Oh.
Hey, you know.
There we go.
I know.
It's that kind of day.
But anyway, I just introduced them and they'll be doing their presentations.
That was awesome, Roger. Thank you. All right, good afternoon. I have the somewhat unenviable task of kicking off the lunch session, which means if you have not fully loaded on coffee, it's too late. So I will do my darndest to get through the next 92 slides for you so that we can get you on your way. Not 92 slides. Okay, so today you're going to hear us talk about cloud, the Hawaii government private cloud that you heard from Keone earlier. But something you probably didn't expect to hear when you walked in this room is you're going to hear, this is as much a presentation on high-performing teams, so you're kind of getting a twofer, because I think they're doing that in another room. But it's as much a discussion on high-performing teams as it is on the cloud. Because many of you know, in this room, know me. I have kind of that part-time job where I serve as a reservist in the military. And a handful of years back, was over in Iraq, and the commanding officer, we were always complaining. We didn't have enough resources. We didn't have enough people. We didn't have enough this. And he said, you know what? He looked at us and goes, get creative and get after it. And what we're going to talk to you about today is as much an instruction on getting creative and getting after it. Yes, we never have as much money as we'd like in IT. We never have as much people as we'd like. We never have as much consultants. No, that's not true. We always have plenty of consultants. You don't need any more of those as we like. But you know what? The direction from Keone on down is get it done. We have a cloud to build. We have infrastructure that we need to support. So you're going to hear me talk about that today, a lot about the team. They always put the least important guy up front to talk, and that would be me. Where's Al? Al reinforces that usually. Least important guy, right, Al? So I'm going to get into it. And as you heard, these gentlemen here, much brighter than me, will be backing me up and talking a little bit about what we're doing with Hawaii's government private cloud. Good stuff. We love agendas. Okay. I'm going to spend literally 10 seconds on this slide. We just want to get grounded on what cloud computing is, a style of computing where scalable and elastic IT-related capabilities are provided as a service to customers using internet technologies. We're bringing this to the state of Hawaii. We're not going to bring all this at once, right? We're going to bring parts and components, and this is going to be an effort. This is going to be a project that we are slowly elaborating over time. So you look at this. This is kind of the end state. This is the vision. Are we going to deliver this on day one? No. All right, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and then we're talking today about private cloud, but you also have hybrid cloud. Cal Cloud in California, our compatriots over there have recently gone live. They have somewhat of a hybrid cloud. Public cloud, Gartner hasn't seen a whole lot of that in government, at least not yet. Why are organizations taking on the cloud? Well, you hear cost savings, but surprisingly, technology, or surprisingly, it's kind of that speed, that efficiency that organizations are trying to attain, and that customer service. Many of you have worked in the past, whether it's with ICSD or within your own organization. You want to request a server. Well, you got to call up somebody, and that somebody's got to listen to you, and then they say, well, I'm going to get right on that. I'm going to put that in my queue, and then we have to go manually provision that server. It takes time. It's not a criticism of the way anybody does business. It's just the way business has been done in the past. So what we've seen is, nearly half of large enterprises are deploying or have deployed a private cloud service. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of a sense for where we're going. Moving on down. 5 seconds. Enterprise private cloud. I got that circled because that's what we're talking about today. Certainly you can look at kind of the spectrum of cloud services. managed private cloud, virtual private hybrid cloud, and then we won't really talk about public cloud a whole lot today. Okay. For those who work with me on a daily basis, they know that this is as much an effort in managing people issues as it is technology. This bears that out. Look where technology is on that slide. Dead last. Management and operational processes, culture. These are the kinds of things that are going to make us successful. This is why this is an instruction in people, not technology. We're delivering technology, but the way it happens is through people. And so the government private cloud project, which we'll talk about who kind of the key players are shortly, it is an effort to address kind of those top 5 there. And certainly the security, technology at the bottom, those are things that we're focused on. But for those of you who have worked in IT, you've never seen a technology problem you couldn't solve. You've seen a lot of people problems you couldn't solve. Okay. There's an opportunity coming up January 28th for those of you here who would be interested, and I would be happy to talk with you afterwards. Why not learn from your peers in other states and other counties? So there's going to be an opportunity to do just that coming up on the 28th to learn how have other organizations, other states, counties, cities implemented cloud technologies and cloud solutions. Okay. That's it. We got through kind of the cloud baselining. Now is where we're going to spend most of our time. And we're going to leave a significant amount of time for questions because invariably you want to talk about is the government private cloud ready for your department? Is it right for your department? How do I get into the government private cloud? We're going to talk about all those things. But it starts with a team. So you heard me talk about my previous job, getting creative and getting after it. How do you take a group of people, diverse group of people from different backgrounds, different core competencies, and get them all focused on kind of that common mission? Well, we've done that. I think we've done that rather successfully with the state's leadership. We have a multi-vendor team. And that can sometimes, you look at that and you say, that can create some challenges, right? You have multiple vendors who have kind of their own points of view on things, and they have certainly in some cases shareholders to report to, and geez, you bring that many vendors together, how do you create a team around that? I think it starts with just that common sense of mission. And I think what we've done very, very successfully on this project is we've taken all of these different entities you see on here and given them a sense for what that common mission is. And they feel that sense of commitment so that when they come to work every day, sure, certainly they're representing their company and they're representing them well, but it's focused on the mission. Mission comes first, your teammates come first. Many of you have seen that Office of Information Management Technology disseminated a cloud memo recently. If you have not, here's kind of the highlights. It comes down to, as Keone said, the state's got to do business differently. And part of that is rooting out that duplication and overlap, both in terms of solution and spending. And so the government private cloud certainly aims to focus on that consolidation of resources and processes and shared services. Certainly sets that preference for departments. This isn't kind of the draconian policy letter that says thou shalt. OIMT wants to collaborate with you on finding out if the GPC or determining if the GPC is right for you. And part of that collaboration is working with departments to develop a plan to leverage the GPC, developing that plan by March 2015. I think what's important to underscore here is that last bullet. I'm not going to present to you today, nor are my partners here going to present to you today, a picture of a solution that is done, that is just the perfect cloud solution. That's not the case, right? We're a project like any other, and our project has challenges. That said, in the past year, going from nothing to where we are today is a testament to folks that are sitting in the front row. In fact, everybody who's associated with the government private cloud, even if it's just tangentially, please stand up. Please. I know these guys. Lorenzo, stand tall, my friend. All right, those guys are the guys that do it. And we're still working on it. So we're going to show you a glimpse of what our vision is and what the work in progress is. Okay. 5 seconds. Reduce cost, reduce risk, increase agility. Much like you saw at the beginning of what some of the kind of drivers of for cloud solutions, certainly we mirror that. The foundational elements, yes, the network, hardware, virtualization, automation, the technology. I think we have a lot of very, very smart and dedicated people focused on that. We're really working on the process and the integrated team. That's going to make the world go round. But this is kind of the vision for government-private cloud. And now, I'm going to turn it over to Vladimir Baranek from IBM. He's going to talk through how we're approaching this, kind of what our vision is for the cloud, and then how you can start to get engaged and get into the government-private cloud, and then I will bring it back and close it out, and then we'll look for questions. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, everybody. I will really quickly introduce myself. My name is Vladimir Baranek. I'm with IBM. I'm a Senior Executive Cloud Advisor. I'm leading a couple of research groups within the Open Group and the Cloud Credential Council. And it's my pleasure to help Mark and OIMT and State of Hawaii. I'm sorry. It's my pleasure. Yeah, I know you want to hear it really loudly. It's my pleasure, really pleasure, to help all of you guys to build this cloud for State of Hawaii. What you see over here is a high-level roadmap. High-level roadmap for GPC project. As Mark already said, it wasn't easy. The guys started with no infrastructure, no facilities. So they had to build really everything, refreshed hardware, create DR facility, disaster recovery, those kind of things. So just really summarize what are the 4 major phases is really create hardware, deploy virtualization, infrastructures. I'm sorry? Hello? Oh, perfect. Perfect, perfect. So, all right, I will very quickly repeat. These are 4 major phases. We will, in first phase, it's not done, but we will finish hardware refreshment, infrastructure deployment. The second phase is really focused on the virtualization and overall infrastructure as a service goal. The third phase is which we are envisioning, focused on self-service, automatization of the infrastructure as a service. These are really important things. And the fourth phase is kind of the cloud nirvana, when you do have all those services kind of running together in one very nice ecosystems. That means that we can include all the legacy applications, possibly start to targeting not just infrastructure as a service, but platform and software as a service as well. Let's go to the next slide. This is a very conceptual slide where we are saying what are the 4 major areas we are focusing on. It's basically physical perception, everything what you see. That means data centers, locations, people, resources. You need electricity, water to run your cloud, all of that. Organization, that blue thing over there, planning, project management, program, everything what is behind it. Obviously, architecture and implementation of all the vendors, of the technologies, everything needs to be integrated somehow. And at the end of the day, obviously, you have to provide a service. So you have to manage, operate, and let the departments consume this cloud service. So these are 4 major areas we are focusing in our model for GPC, which are later kind of expanding. We are expanding it to kind of we call it, and Mark would be probably angry to me. We call it cloud ecosystem. That means that you're not angry? All right. So we call it cloud ecosystem because we really believe it's not just what we are building today, infrastructure as a service, but it's one of the building blocks. That means we progressively in next phases, next years, we would be able to add platform as a service, do consolidation, do mobility, those kind of things. This is really, some of you probably have these brochures, these booklets in front of you. If not, there are still a couple of those over here on the corners of the tables, so you can see the whole picture of all these four models. And from organizational standpoint, we have projects. We have cloud implementation, we have cloud architecture, we have cloud migration, and obviously all the departments, all the consumers of the cloud tenants, they're really focused on that migration thing. We will talk about it a bit later. We do have GPC steering committee, but it's basically the steering committee which is really making sure everything is right. We are going towards our goals and we are delivering the services. Then we do have vendors like VMware, Paxa, Sirius, IBM, Gartner. And so those are the vendors which are really building the cloud. And again, State of Hawaii departments with the people and infrastructure and everything is set. From physical standpoint, we do have facilities, locations, environments, and non-GPC locations. That's the red thing over there, inside your bullet. And within each facility, you see that it's really not just some server, something which we have to manage or we have to take care about. From technology standpoint, we are talking about standard infrastructure, cloud-enabled, infrastructure as a service running on the infrastructure, and obviously tenants which are running inside the infrastructure as a service. We are capable and able to do more virtual data centers, but this is something we can discuss, and there are more alternatives. From business perspective, we are really talking about these two elements: service consumption, service management, and service operations. A lot of people is really focused on service catalog, services provided inside, and from post-migration perspective, we are talking about service support, where really who will take the call once I will call somebody. If we are going down to the physical architecture, we are not going to present physical architecture today. It's a bit more complex than we would love to show today. And it's really, the important things are areas you can see over there: the communication, computing, resource pool, networking, and storage resource pool. We are providing replication and backup, as you see over here. Going to the migration for each of the departments, our methodology says we do have 5 stages: pre-migration task and tenant migration task. And then the last stage is obviously support, where we are, after the tenants is up and running within the GPC, we are supporting it by our service operations, management, and consumptions, those yellow circles you can see inside the brochure. For strategy and methodology, they need to be aligned with the cloud strategy, with the cloud architecture, and they're laying down the scope and approach, how we are migrating tenants inside the GPC. Tenant migration tasks, first thing is onboarding workshop, then we are focusing on project plan, we are building tenant architecture. Prior of that, we are working on workload analysis, cloud readiness, etc., etc. It's way more complicated process than you can see over here. Let's go to this slide. This is really showing what are the interactions between the tenant and various teams within the GPC and other ISSD participant teams. Department, the blue circle over there, is really interacting with migration team and a GPC PMO team. And those are the interactions point for the tenants. We really want to support the departments thoroughly and minimize the impact of all the interactions to the departments. And I will close this, this part about the GPC cloud from the architecture standpoint, because that's mostly I'm taking care about in the GPC cloud. We are really, as Mark already said, we are really not building it from the as some beautiful service ecosystem of services which will be finished today or tomorrow. But I believe we are on good direction, and we are already providing some level of those services today. And we want to really give the value to our clients very soon by those migrations. And so we are really working hard to make it as possible, easier as possible. I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right, we got just a few slides left. One thing I do want to just back up, it's important. We do have a migration process, right? So you're as a department, you're sitting there thinking, okay, I want to get in. What do I need to do to get in? What do you have? And as Vladimir said, you know, there's a lot more behind this, but this is kind of that high-level process. So we engage you on the front. There's a process of assessing what you have. We got to plan it out, and then we have to kind of do that migration. And then there's like a handful of post-migration tasks. We don't just kind of leave you be, but we do have a process. So I think it's important for you to understand that there's things that are going on behind the scenes to support you, to get you in, that probably didn't exist a few months ago. Okay, we've got a team. There's your team. You have ICSD, OIMT on the top, and they kind of keep us honest and keep us working. And VMware helping us with the installation support. Sirius have been really the Sherpas around the AIX and backups. Paxa, can't say enough wonderful things about our Paxa friends. They just keep bringing the heat to the project. They bring quality folks, and they've been really performing the actual migrations that we've done thus far, and they will continue. And then you have Gartner kind of managing the overall project, and as Vladimir said, IBM really supported the architecture, and of course the government private cloud is built on IBM infrastructure. We've had some key milestones this past year. It really feels more like a year, trust me. You know, we just got started in January, and so literally in January, no plan, things in boxes, direction from Keone, go. All right. Well, what a year it's been. In June, the hardware installed at the primary site, which is the Kalani Moku building. I think all of you know that downtown. We could always have an offline conversation about the good Kalani Moku building. You're in a basement. You're in a 50-year-old building. You're in a floodplain. You had a halon discharge. A couple of issues. It's probably nothing. All right. Networked at both sites, hardware installed at the co-location site. I don't know if we have our DR Fortress friends in here today, but there they are. DR Fortress really been instrumental. You heard Keone talk this morning about some disaster recovery capability. We have established the kind of the infrastructure to have that disaster recovery capability. We are in the process of fine-tuning and testing that, and our friends from DR Fortress have been really instrumental in that. But that's a milestone for the state of Hawaii to be able to say, okay, if ultimately government-private cloud, that you have that kind of wave or that comes through and goes into the basement, or rat chews through your cable. I think that might have happened too. We have a place to be able to fall back to, whereas that wasn't the case many months ago. Okay, and we've performed some limited migrations for departments that were really in need. Some departments were early adopters. All right. Progress to date. I don't want to kind of go through this line by line, but it's really been a load of work. Fully implemented that virtualized infrastructure at Kalani Moku. That 90% of the virtualized infrastructure at DR Fortress, that's really now up to 100%. And that we're doing the disaster recovery testing and fine-tuning that, and then the AIX environment build-out. So, the environments that we're supporting, you have Windows 2000, or operating systems, Windows 2012, Linux, Red Hat 6.x to be 7 dot something, and then AIX. So those are what are supported, will be supported by the government-private cloud. Okay. We've had some early adopters, and I felt compelled to put them up on the slide here because it's always scary to go first. But I think we've done a pretty good job at serving them. What we found is there's departments out there that said, look, we have some infrastructure that is aged, decrepit, out of serve, we're not in licensing anymore. We need to do something. We need to move. Government-private cloud was still kind of a work in progress, and we've established that virtualized infrastructure. And so we've begun to work with some of these departments and move applications over, somewhat non-critical, because that's the way you want to start. You don't want to kind of start with public health and move the most critical or your payroll system over first. So we've really got some quick wins under our belt, refined the processes, and we thank those departments who have been the early adopters. On to 2015, coming right around the corner. In addition to DR Fortress, we'll be bringing up a third site in Maui, at the Maui Research and Technology Center, to provide initially that dev and test capability. So you come into the private cloud with your production application, we have a policy that says you're going to have your dev and test environment, because if we're going to do patching, that patching needs to happen and be tested, not in production. So we're going to bring up that dev and test capability up in Maui. One thing that we are working on right quickly, in fact, starting today, security compliance to meet HIPAA and IRS 1075. One of the things that we've heard from many departments is we'd really like to join the government-private cloud, but we have HIPAA requirements. What can you tell me about your ability to be HIPAA compliant? And a few months ago, that was, well, we're still working on it. And we are still working on it, but we're this much closer, and that is a priority for us in 2015 to get that done. And that's a somewhat, hopefully, near-term effort. Self-service. You can't become a cloud until you have the self-service capability, because right now, we have a virtualized environment, and we spin those VMs up manually. But at some point, you as a consumer want to be able to log on wherever it is that you are, and be able to spin up a VM. In fact, for those of you who attended this summit last year, you saw a video of the 44-second server. That's what we aspire to do. You want to be able to sit at home, say, I want a small, I want a medium, I want a large, I need this much RAM, spin it up and have it done. No more manual, picking up the phone, manual processes. So that is something we are also going to be working on diligently in 2015. Somewhat less sexy is the IT service management processes, but no less important. You got to have those people and processes in the organization behind the scenes to be able to support you, so that if there's an incident, you pick up the phone and you call over, you know that there's somebody on the other end with a process and people who are going to be able to triage your incident. So we're going to be working on things like incident management, change management, problem management, service request, and get those processes in place. And then you already heard me talk about the dev test environments. Lots more going on, but I wanted to highlight some of the things that in the near term in 2015 that we are working on. What time we got? A lot of time. We did that on purpose. I can always ask questions for you, but we want to hear what some of your questions are. We've interacted with many departments, but certainly not an audience like this. And we will endeavor to answer your questions the best we can. So please, who's going to go first? I like to see it. I can call on people. Sir. Service catalog. So there is an effort led by Mr. Todd Crosby within OIMT. A service catalog has been developed. And Todd is been charged with operationalizing that service catalog. And what he is doing to operationalize that service catalog in January, Maximus will be coming out here, which has handled the costing for the state on the federally funded programs. And they will be working on getting that cost model in place so that we can then implement the service catalog. I've heard Keone say that, aspirationally looking at towards the end of this fiscal year to have service catalog implemented.
Desktop as a service part of that catalog?
I'm sorry?
Desktop as a service part of that catalog?
Desktop as a service, yes. by the way, Al's not allowed to ask any questions, Al. I saw it. I saw it. Yeah, sir, in the back. Well, again, that's the kind of the nature of the cloud is the chargeback system, right? Is that you as a department are going to be charged for what you use, and then the cloud becomes self-funding. And that's kind of the standard model for how these are done, particularly, well, that's how these are done. Did that answer your question, or is there more there? You want to know how much it's going to cost you? Lots. No, I don't know the answer to that question. Come on. We are working on that, and they're very mindful that costing needs to be realistic and needs to be communicated to you soon because you as departments have budgets to manage, and you have budget proposals to make to the legislature, and if there are costs associated with the cloud, you need to be able to have those at the ready. So we are mindful of that. Sir, up front. You know, I'm going to turn that question over to our friends over here on the corner. Patrick.
We're currently, we have WSUS in place, and we are standing up SCCM.
I think he was looking for a yes or no, Patrick. No.
Because like outreach around like that, and we work that, but on the other side, we don't do it.
Yeah, so policy, procedures and policies are being put in place on working with app administrators and in terms of what apps will be available and whatnot.
Good questions. Others? Sir. What do you mean by adjust?
If you update some servers and application box because of the updates, how do you go about being exempt from certain policies?
Well, we do. What I can say is we have policies in place for a reason. You know, I think to kind of protect the integrity of our customers. I think I'm going to turn that one over to Sudesh to answer because he's kind of more closely involved in that.
So again, we have policies in place for a reason, and it's to enforce it. However, having said that, we recognize that, you know, there are unique situations, and we'll be more than happy to work with you and your department, understand your, you know, application, understand the criticality of what it is that you're doing and how the patching affects you, and we'll be more than happy to, you know, work with you to make it effective if required.
Yeah, and Sudesh brings up a good point. Conversations are free. We are at your disposal to reach out to us. Just because you know, we're not kind of like the salesmen that show up at your doorstep. Just because you talk to us doesn't mean that you got to commit to being in the cloud. We would like to start having those conversations with you around the appropriateness of moving into the government-private cloud. And you no doubt have questions, and so we are at the ready for those in the new year. Thank you for that question. Sure. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please? Right. So if you're talking about tenants, that means the department's running inside a cloud, then obviously the pitfalls could be somebody's running something very non-standard, exotic, right? It would be a really big exception. So first thing, obviously, we are doing this workload analysis, cloud readiness before workload analysis, which will basically tell us whether we are even able to move it inside the cloud, right? It's a legitimate question. Like mainframe, no. Something running on Solaris, maybe, probably no. Something running on Red Hat, definitely yes. It depends. So pitfalls could be related to the technology or business criticality or business dependency. So the workload analysis doesn't say only what is running within the workload, within this technology stack, but it should also say, what are the security dependencies, governance dependencies, whether, what is your business criticality for disaster recovery, business continuity, what we are talking about the backup, how long, when do you need full backup, how many increments you need, etc., etc. So that's what we are trying to say. We are trying to standardize everything and make this model consolidated, so it's easily to consume. But not everybody probably have everything ready to go today. So some of the pitfalls could be that the standard migration could take, 3 to 4 weeks. But because of these exceptions, it could take more. That's time-consuming constraint. Did I answer your question? Thank you.
Let me elaborate on that. So just think of it as a very simple term, right? So let's say you have your own physical server sitting in your own department. So you now are responsible for maintaining it. It could have a hardware failure, it could have a software failure, it could be anything, and you now and your department IT staff are responsible for maintaining that. So if you come to the private cloud, we have a highly redundant infrastructure as far as the hardware is concerned. We have multiple blades, we have multiple chassis, we have multiple networks, all highly redundant. So therefore, the chances of a single hardware failure bringing down your entire server is very, very minimal. Hence, that's a pitfall that you avoid if you come to the GPC, as opposed to staying where you are. So those are some of the things that you do. We give you a very highly redundant hardware environment. We give you a highly redundant networking environment. We give you a highly stable, scalable software environment, and we make sure that all of those updates are up to the current level. So you and your IT staff in your department don't have to go through those pitfalls to do all of them. Did I say so?
Thank you. There's no such thing. No such thing. It is. It is. Yes. They will be customers within the cloud, yes. It is it's a good question, because I think you think kind of like Amazon Cloud Services, which is kind of a provider, and in fact the state does is a customer of Amazon. But what we are building is state-owned, state-staffed, state-operated, private cloud, which means only for other state departments. It's not open to anybody outside, certainly not the public. It is only for state, either public-facing or internal applications. There are employee. In fact, the fine gentleman over to my right here, who I introduced earlier, they are part of the team that does and will operate it. So this is entirely staffed and operated by Hawaii state staff. Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
All right, so I will try to help with this. We do have column of the building data center, right? Within that data center, we have infrastructure and which we are running government cloud. So there are other departments, other purposes of those infrastructures, but we have separate infrastructure just for government cloud. And that infrastructure is also connected to disaster recovery center and will be hopefully in
Right.
the future connected to Maui. So it's really running inside the government base.
Every server, every cable owned and operated by the state in a state facility, with the exception of the disaster recovery facility, which is at DR Fortress. I'm sorry?
But at the airport, the state.
State still owns the equipment. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for asking me that question, because that was a question that I was going to rhetorically present if it was not brought up. Yes. So, yes, thank you for your question. I should have had that on probably the last slide. The two questions that we most frequently get, one is service catalog, how much does it cost me? What are your service level agreements? Again, first quarter of 2015 are working on those service level objectives / agreements, and we will have those to be able to communicate. That's part of the game, right? If you as a customer are going to come into the cloud, you have a right to be able to request and even demand a certain level of service and understand what those those targets are. And so we will be working on that, and we'll be communicating that. Thank you, Pauline, for that question. Good questions.
You mentioned earlier that the service program flooded the same service. Do you envision that any of the other county agencies would have or users of the service?
Yeah, so I will let me channel my inner Keone. Yes, I think that it probably, well, right now we don't have county and city tenants. But I do believe that OIMT's intent at some point, and I certainly can't say when, but it would make sense to extend that to counties and cities. But again, that we haven't had those discussions as a project team yet. Turn that one to Sudesh.
So currently we have an existing pipeline of all the departments that we're discussing and we're talking to in discussions. And based on the timelines and when we discuss with them, we give it a priority of, depending on the criticality of the application that they're running, depending on, if they're running applications on failing hardware or if they're out of contract or out of maintenance. So depending on, a whole bunch of different factors, we will prioritize the workload. So far we've been, able to very successfully migrate a lot of those department workloads, and we will continue to do that going down in 2015. We'll sit down with you, we'll look at the business criticality. Do you have any hard dates you have to meet? Are there any penalties if you don't meet those dates? Is your hardware failing? Is it out of maintenance? Are you running a software release that is, not supported by the vendor anymore? So there are a lot of those criteria that we will look at, and then we'll say, okay, based on this, we'll give you the highest priority, we'll move you within a week, or, we can put you down for 2 weeks because, your business criticality is not that much. So there's a whole bunch of different factors that we use to determine the priority of,
What about new servers that haven't been, that are being developed now versus old ones that are on older systems? How does that play into it?
Yeah, so along the same lines, depending on if there are certain deadlines that that we were supposed to meet as far as a new application that needs to go online, let's say by a certain date, and then what we will do is, we pull our resources to see what we can do to help you out make that particular date. So instead of existing application, if you have a new application, and if that deadline for that application to go live has already been published, and there are people that are expecting the services to be online at a certain date, at a certain time, then we'll work with you to bring it online in the time frame that you are requesting.
Another question. There was one.
Services, what are you offering now to help agencies that are doing a mix of modernization project, planning, and onboarding?
So what you're asking is, what are we doing now today? Good question, because you've heard us talk a little bit about what we're working on in 2015, but what can we provide today? So what we have today is virtualized infrastructure at Kalanimoku and progressive disaster recovery capability out at DR Fortress. So the probably 9 or 10 departments, agencies that we've engaged so far, those have been the ones, as I think I alluded to earlier, have really kind of more than emergent needs, critical needs. And we've seen, physical hardware that is just end of life or just danger of failing. Those are the ones that we've brought over now. And then there's some departments that just simply want to get out of the infrastructure business. And ultimately, that's the goal, I think, statewide is to have a centralized data center and disaster recovery capability. But
planning, how do we, what resource gathering can we kind of consume now? Is there a web information that says here, as you start to plan out your new applications or your modernization efforts, here's what's available? Or is there a person or people that we can contact?
yes, so in 2015, as I mentioned, the service catalog and self-service, that'll be kind of the end state where you can go on and quickly consume or identify and consume those services. For now, what we've asked departments to do is to get in touch with the OIMT Government Private Cloud team. So it's OIMT_cloud at hawaii.gov. And we're available, and essentially we set up meetings to come out and talk with you and understand what your needs are. One of the things that we are going to be doing as well is a more statewide needs assessment. This has been on our project plan to do for some time now, but we want to be a little bit more proactive in reaching out to departments and understanding what your needs are. And so you might be receiving something in the form of a survey from the Government Private Cloud team in 2015. For now, we just ask that you drop us an email, and we're happy to talk.
Just to address your question, I understand a lot of departments, they basically want to know what it is. How can I use it, right? What should I expect? So basically what we are planning, we will do some kind of the onboarding workshops for each department. So that means that we'll provide them all the information, what is it, how it works, what is inside, what is the service level, what we are providing, what are the SLAs, SLOs, etc. And basically at the end of the day, we will also ask them, what are your expectations? So we will try to align those expectations with what we are providing, and we will kind of capture these high-level requirements. We will say, all right, based on this, we can start talking, we can start create a project plan for migration, we can start really think about cloud readiness for your department, etc., etc. So I think it's very important to understand that this workshop, onboarding workshop, is one of the crucial points for all the departments. So everybody has this kind of the communication with some, presentation, some paper. They can take a look at it and they can see, all right, this is how it works. So we will provide onboarding document for everybody. So you got this brochure. This is really just showing like poster, right? We are here, but that onboarding document will say what is inside and how you can use it.
Thank you for that question. That's a very good question. All right. Oh.
Is it on the OIMT website?
Yeah, I tell you what. After the session, come up and I'll get it to you. I can just give you my email address and I'll get you on the distro for that invite. Thank you. Okay, well, I thank you for coming today. Hopefully we conveyed some good information. There are a lot of hardworking state staff behind the scenes trying to get this done, and we look forward to collaborating with you in the months ahead. Thank you.